Rain poured from the dark sky, heavy and cold. The wind howled across the empty alien fields. Tall, purple grass bent under the storm, and the air smelled like wet stone and sadness. Ethan pulled his jacket tighter around his body as he walked. He was a human trader, moving between small alien villages, selling tools and fixing machines. His boots sank into the muddy path with every step. He was tired, wet, and ready to find a dry place to rest. Then he saw them. Two small shapes were hiding under a broken shelter made of old wood and metal sheets. The roof leaked badly, and water dripped all around them. They sat very still, hugging each other tightly. Ethan stopped. He looked closer. They were children, alien children. They had thin bodies, large round eyes, and soft gray skin. Their clothes were torn and dirty. One looked about 5 years old, the other maybe 7. Both were shivering. The older one noticed Ethan and pulled the younger one closer. "It's okay," Ethan said gently. "I'm not here to hurt you." They didn't reply. They just stared, wide-eyed and silent. Ethan stepped forward slowly, keeping his hands where they could see. He knelt down near them. "Where are your parents?" he asked. Still no answer. Then the younger one, with shaking hands, reached into a pocket and pulled out a small, wet piece of cloth. No paper. It was torn and soggy, but Ethan could still read the writing. "Please help my babies. I'm sorry." Ethan's heart sank. He looked at the children again. They weren't just lost. They had been left here. On purpose. He couldn't. "Walk away. Come with me," he said softly. "I have food. A warm place. You don't have to be scared." The older child hesitated. Then, slowly they stood up. The younger one held the older's hand tightly. Together, they followed Ethan into the storm. Ethan's small camp wasn't far. A metal tent with a heater, some food packs and blankets. It wasn't much, but it was better than the cold rain. He gave the children towels to dry off and warm soup to eat. They ate quietly, eyes always watching him. "What are your names?" he asked. Still, they said nothing. Ethan smiled kindly. "That's okay. You don't have to talk now." The storm outside grew louder. Thunder rumbled, and lightning lit up the sky. Inside, the tent was warm and quiet. The children finally relaxed a little. The younger one curled up in a blanket and fell asleep. The older one stayed awake, watching Ethan. Later, when Ethan stepped outside to check his power supply, he froze. Someone was watching from the darkness. He saw a shadow just beyond the tall grass. A figure, thin, cloaked, barely visible in the rain. "Who's there?" Ethan called. No answer. He took a step forward, but the figure moved back. Then he heard a whisper. A soft voice, carried by the wind. "Please, don't let them suffer like I did." Ethan blinked. The figure was gone. He looked around the field, but there was nothing. Only rain, wind, and the sound of thunder. Back inside, he sat quietly for a while. The children were both asleep now, safe, warm. He held the wet note again in his hands. "Please help my babies. I'm sorry." Who had written it? Their mother. Was that her voice outside? Why didn't she come in? And why was she so afraid? Ethan didn't know what this was yet, but something told him this was only the beginning. He looked at the children again. No matter what happened next, he would protect them, even if the entire planet stood against him. Ethan woke up to the sound of soft crying. It wasn't the children. It was someone else, someone outside the tent. He quickly grabbed his jacket and stepped out into the cold, early morning mist. The storm had passed, but the ground was still wet, and the air was heavy with silence. Then he saw her. She was sitting on her knees near a tree, not far from the tent. Her cloak was soaked, her long dark hair stuck to her cheeks, and her shoulders shook as she cried quietly, like someone who had cried too many times before. Ethan walked toward her slowly. She didn't run. When he stopped in front of her, she looked up. Her face was pale and tired. Her eyes, large and glowing faint blue, were filled with sadness and shame. "Are you their mother?" Ethan asked softly. She didn't answer. She only looked down and nodded once. "Why didn't you come to them?" he asked. She took a deep breath but couldn't speak. Her hands were shaking. Ethan noticed her arms, thin, bruised, and covered in healing cuts. He crouched beside her. "You left that note, didn't you?" The woman closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek. "I thought they would be safer if I wasn't near," she whispered. Ethan helped her stand and brought her into the tent. The children were still asleep. When the woman saw them, her lips trembled. She stepped closer and dropped to her knees. She gently touched their hair. "They were always so brave," she whispered. "Even when we had no food, they never cried." Ethan watched her. There was no anger in his eyes, only quiet understanding. He handed her a cup of hot water and a dry cloth. "I'm Ethan," he said. She looked at him for a moment, then finally spoke her name. "Valari. Why are you out here, Valari?" he asked. "Why alone?" Valari stared at the small fire, her fingers gripping the cup tightly. "I was once married to a noble warrior," she said. "He died in battle. His family said I was cursed. They threw me out, took my home, my name, everything." She paused. "I begged them to let me stay for the children, but they said my children were half weak and unfit to carry the family name." Ethan clenched his jaw. "That's horrible," Valari nodded. "For weeks we slept in alleyways. I tried to sell old clothes for food. But then, people began to notice. Some wanted to take the children, not to help them, for other reasons." Her voice cracked. "I ran, hid them, starved myself so they could eat. But it wasn't enough, so I left them where someone might find them. Before they died with me." For a long time, Ethan said nothing. The pain in her voice was real, deep. "You don't have to run anymore," he finally said. "Var." I looked at him, confused. "You protected them the best you could," he said. "Now let me help you too." She shook her head. "No, I'm no one now, a broken widow. I have nothing left to give." Ethan gave a small smile. "Then stay and give them your love. That's more than enough." Valari's eyes filled with tears again. But this time, she let them fall. And for the first time in many months, she didn't cry alone. The children were laughing. Tiny giggles filled the quiet forest air as Ethan showed them how to roast berries over the fire. The younger one burned his stick and made a funny face. The older one tried to copy Ethan's hands, serious like a soldier, but poked himself with the stick instead. More laughter. From the edge of the camp, Valari watched them. She didn't smile. Not yet, but something inside her stirred a forgotten feeling. Like a flower blooming in cracked, dry soil, she had forgotten the sound of her children's laughter. Later, while the children napped, Ethan returned from washing clothes by the stream. As he walked into the camp, he saw Valari sitting alone, staring at a piece of cloth in her lap. It was old, torn, but Ethan recognized the pattern, part of a noble crest, faded by time and dirt. "You kept that?" he asked gently. Valari didn't look up. "It's the last thing I have from my past." Ethan sat beside her, silent. She ran her fingers over the faded symbol. "Once, I was proud. I walked through marble halls, servants bowed. I gave speeches. I planned noble festivals." She stopped. Her voice turned bitter. "But when my husband died, they took it all away. They said a widow was useless, that my children were a burden. They pushed me out the back gate like trash." She looked at Ethan now, eyes hard. "Do you know what it's like to go from silk to rags in a single night?" He shook his head. "No, but I know what it's like to feel forgotten." Valari's voice grew softer. "I wasn't always this broken," she said. "There was strength in me once. I fought, I begged, I screamed. But no one listened." She paused. "Until now." Ethan said nothing. He simply reached into his bag and handed her something. It was a small mirror. Valari frowned. "What is this?" "Look," he said. She turned the mirror toward her face and saw herself. Tired eyes, rough skin, thin cheeks. But behind it all, something else. Something deep and still alive. "See that?" Ethan said. "That's the woman who raised 2 children through hell. Who gave everything just to keep them alive. That's not broken." Valari's lip trembled. She quickly looked away. "You don't have to believe it yet," Ethan added. "But one day you will." That night, when the fire burned low, Valari sat beside the sleeping children. She touched their hair gently. Then she whispered, "Maybe I can be their mother again." And maybe, just maybe, she thought, she could start becoming whole again. The morning was calm, but too calm. Even the birds had stopped singing. Ethan was teaching the children how to boil water when he felt it. The air around him shifted. He turned his head slowly. They were all ready. Standing there, 5 armored aliens, tall and cold-faced, wearing the silver colors of a noble house. Valari froze. Her eyes widened. She backed up and grabbed the children, holding them close. The lead guard stepped forward. "So this is where the disgrace hides," he said, his voice sharp like a blade. Ethan stood up, stepping in front of them. "Who are you?" "We are agents of House Kelzer," the alien said proudly. "We've come to collect our property." "Property?" Ethan's voice darkened. The guards sneered. "The woman. And the bastard she gave birth to." Valari's knees gave out. She dropped to the ground, shaking. Ethan clenched his fists. "She's not your property, and those are children." "They are half-blood trash," another guard hissed. "Born of a warrior, but tainted by a weak mother. House Kelzer has disowned them. They have no right to exist in noble records." "She's a widow," Ethan shouted. "She deserves respect, not chains," the lead guard chuckled. "You must be new to this world, human. On this planet, noble blood decides who matters, and she is nothing." Valari tried to stand. "Please, don't take them." The guard raised a hand. "You will be silent, widow. We gave you mercy once. This time we bring law." He reached forward, but Ethan stepped between them. "I won't let you touch them." The guard stopped, surprised. "You're interfering with noble business, outsider. That is dangerous." Ethan stared him down. "Then maybe your laws need to change." Tension filled the air. The guards reached for their weapons. Valari gasped, shielding the children, but Ethan didn't move. His voice was calm but firm. "I know your noble law book," he said. "Under Section 14.2, it says any child abandoned or orphaned may be claimed by a protector if the parent is declared unfit. I am their protector now." The guards froze. "You studied our laws?" The lead one asked, eyes narrowing. "I study a lot," Ethan replied. "Especially when it comes to saving lives." For a moment, silence. Then the lead guard snarled, "We will report this to the council." "Go ahead," Ethan said. "But if you try to take her or the children again, bring more than 5. The guards turned and left, but not before spitting at the ground near Valari's feet. As they vanished into the trees, Valari looked at Ethan, shocked, trembling. "You stood up to them." He looked at her, breathing hard. "I told you," he said. "You're not alone anymore." That night, Valari sat near the fire with her children curled against her. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She watched Ethan quietly and whispered to herself, "Maybe someone will fight for me after all." The stars were quiet that night. Valari sat beside the fire, staring into the glowing embers. Her children were asleep, safe under warm blankets, breathing softly. But she couldn't sleep. Ethan stepped out of the tent, stretching his arms. He saw her sitting alone and walked over, carrying a second blanket. "You should rest," he said. Placing it over her shoulders, she looked up at him, tired eyes meeting his. You're always kind to me. Even when I have nothing to offer." He chuckled softly. "You gave me something, Valari." She raised an eyebrow. "What?" He nodded. "Toward the children. A reason to stay." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the fire crackle and the soft wind blowing through the trees. Valari spoke first, her voice slow. "You know they'll come again, next time. They'll bring more." "I know," Ethan replied. "The council will say I'm unfit," she whispered. "And they'll take my babies away." Ethan didn't answer immediately. Then he looked at her and said quietly, "Then maybe we should give them a reason not to." Valari frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked down at the fire, then back at her. "If I claimed the children legally, as their father, and you as my bonded mate, they couldn't take them. Not without breaking their own laws." The words hit her like a thunderclap. "You want to pretend to be my mate?" She asked slowly. "To protect you," he said. "Just an agreement. A way to buy time. A way to keep them safe." Valari's lips trembled. "And what if people start to believe it?" Ethan shrugged. "Then let them. Let them believe whatever they want if it means you stay with your children." Her eyes searched his face. It was quiet again. Then she whispered, "We can pretend or not." Ethan blinked. "What?" She smiled faintly. A smile so soft it felt like spring touching winter. "I said, maybe we don't have to pretend." That night, Valari didn't sleep alone. She didn't speak much. She didn't ask for anything, but as she lay beside him under the same blanket, with his arm gently over her shoulder, her heart, once so broken, finally beat with warmth again. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was starting to feel alive. The morning sun rose slowly, golden light sliding across the tent walls. Birds chirped softly in the distance. Everything felt peaceful. Too peaceful. Ethan returned from the nearby stream, carrying water in a metal jug. He smiled to himself, thinking of Valari's sleepy face, and how the children had started calling him father without being asked. But when he stepped into camp, his heart dropped. The fire was cold. The food was untouched, and the tent was torn open. "Valari?" He called out. No answer. He dropped the jug and ran inside. The blankets were thrown aside. A broken toy lay on the ground. The necklace Valari always wore, a string with a small metal ring, was lying in the dirt. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He found Valari near the tree line. She was on her knees, screaming silently, fists digging into the earth. "They took them," she cried, her voice raw with panic. "They took my babies." Ethan rushed to her. "Who? When?" Valari's eyes were wide with terror. "I went to gather berries, just for a moment. When I returned, they were gone. I searched, I called for them, but—" Her voice broke. Ethan scanned the ground. Footprints, drag marks, heavy boots. "They didn't even try to hide it," he said, eyes narrowing. "They took them like animals," Valari whispered. "I failed them again." Ethan shook his head firmly. "No, this isn't the end. We'll get them back. But how?" she asked, voice shaking. "The council? The guards? They'll never give them back to someone like me." Ethan stood. His voice was low and full of fire. "Then I won't ask them." They followed the trail through the forest. Valari was weak but determined. Every time she stumbled, Ethan caught her arm. Every time she cried, he told her, "Just a little farther." After 2 hours, they reached a gray metal building surrounded by walls and guards. A holding center. Ethan's blood boiled. "They locked them up?" he whispered in disbelief. "They're just children." Valari clutched his arm. "What do we do now?" He looked at her, calm but full of silent rage. "We break in." That night, under cover of darkness, Ethan snuck into the facility through an old service pipe. Valari stayed hidden in the forest, praying with every breath. Inside, Ethan moved. Fast, he took down one guard silently, slipped past cameras, avoided lights. Then he found them. The children were curled up in a small cage cold, hungry, scared. When they saw Ethan, they cried out, "Father!" Ethan's heart cracked, but he didn't waste time. He picked them up and whispered, "I'm here. Let's go home." As he carried them out, he passed other cages, other children, not just Velaris, alien orphans, silent, forgotten, waiting. Ethan stopped, and something in him changed. He returned with not just 2 children, but 10. Vli sobbed. When she saw them, she ran to her children, hugging them tight, but paused when she saw the others. "These, who are they?" Ethan looked at her, voice quiet. "They were left behind. Just like yours." Velari looked at the silent little ones, frightened and tired, and opened her arms. "All of you," she whispered. "You're not alone anymore." Asterisk. They didn't run anymore. They walked dash together. Ethan carried the smallest child on his back. Velari held one in each arm. The others followed close, holding hands, tired but not afraid. The rising sun painted the sky in soft gold as the group approached the city gates. The same city that once threw Velari away now stood tall before them, silent and cold. But they would not be silent today. Crowds gathered, whispers filled the air. "Is that her? The widow? Who is the human with her? Why are there so many children?" Then came the noble guards, armored and ready to block the way. One step forward. "You dare walk into this place after stealing from a council facility?" Enfen didn't flinch. "We didn't steal, we rescued." The guard narrowed his eyes. "That facility is for unclaimed younglings. You had no right." Velari stepped forward, voice steady. "Then I claim them. Every one of them." The guard scoffed. "You? A fallen widow with no house, no name?" Ethan raised a hand. "She has a name now." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small data crystal. "I filed for bonding rights under Galactic Family Code 77A. She's my mate, and I've already registered the children as dependents under human protection law." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Velar, I blinked. "You did all that?" Ethan nodded. "I told you. You're not alone." The council was forced to meet inside the grand hall. Surrounded by stone walls and old alien statues, Velari stood with Ethan by her side. The children sat close, holding her hands tightly. One of the council elders stared at her. "You once belonged to House Kelzer, but you were cast out." Velari spoke clearly, "And I accepted that. I begged for mercy, and you gave me none." Another elder asked Ethan, "And you, human, why take this burden? What do these children give you?" Ethan looked around the room, calm but strong. "They gave me a reason to stay alive." He turned to Velari. "She gave me a reason to care." The chamber was quiet. Then one councilwoman stood. "I watched this woman be thrown into the streets like trash. And yet, here she stands stronger than ever. We tried to break her, and she raised a family instead." She turned to Ethan. "And you? Human... Your kind is full of surprises." She raised her hand. "I vote to approve the family claim." One by one, the others slowly followed. Approved. Approved. When they walked out of the hall, Velari was not trembling. She was standing tall. The children were officially hers again, and so was Ethan. That night, they sat around a new fire outside a small house granted by the city. Ethan looked at the children playing, laughing. He looked at Velari, who now smiled with her whole face. She leaned against him and whispered, "Thank you for giving us back more than just shelter." He looked at her gently. "You gave me something too." She tilted her head. "A family." The stars above were the same, but everything below had changed. No more hiding, no more running, no more loneliness. Their family was here now, and it was stronger than anyone ever believed possible.